Okay. Thank you very much. As introduced by Professor Mumolo and Professor Mossa, I will be talking about the gap between educational offer and the needs of contemporary industry and business environment. And, well, as Giorgio introduced, I am here not only on my behalf, but on behalf of the entire team from Poznań University of Technology, which is my colleague Joanna Oleśków-Szłapko, of course, and Professor Marek Fercz, who is leading the part of a work package connected with desk research. The desk research, especially on educational offer within the area of industrial management and engineering. So, my presentation will focus on the first part of the project, the part that was really important because we need to, well, set the ground for the final, for the further work, the work on new and improved educational programs. So, at the very beginning, we wanted to find out whether the HEI's educational offer meet requirements of contemporary industry and business environment. Well, if the answer was yes, then our project would be quite pointless. But fortunately, we found out that these are not aligned, and there is a gap between educational offer and the needs of contemporary industry. And the two questions that arose then, that were decomposed here, was what is contemporary educational offer in industrial engineering field and in management, of course, and what are requirements of contemporary industry and business environment. To answer that question, we designed a very simple methodology that was basically based on identification of stakeholders and then reaching these stakeholders to get the best knowledge on what we can offer and what we do need. So first we identified the stakeholders within higher education institutions area, and we figured that there are three important groups there. The first are the professors, the educators, who offer and transfer knowledge during their classes, mentoring, and generally guiding students. That the important stakeholders here are alumni who complete their education as graduates and start to work in companies. We figured that their knowledge and feedback from them is very important, as they confront really easily what they learned with what they need. Naturally, industry is also an important stakeholder here, so we decided that we need to get knowledge from companies. On one hand, on what they need from the workers, what knowledge, what skills they need, okay? And on the other, whether they are offering some training within the required knowledge and skills area. So, after having the stakeholders identified, we designed a way to reach them. And again, we figured that we need two approaches here. The first is objective perspective, the perspective that is based on literature research and syllabi analysis. And we also needed a subjective perspective just to get to know what is the perception of the knowledge offered and gained via the questionnaires directed and designed, customized, okay, to reach all the stakeholders that we identified. This methodological approach was implemented, and the results we achieved are the following. First, we started with the desk research on contemporary industry. There was no surprise that the contemporary industry is based on Industry 4.0 concept, and we went through the literature to see what are the most important aspects and elements of Industry 4.0. The results of the systemic literature review were presented in one of the reports that are available on the project website. Thanks to the literature review, we identified this. So the second step was syllabi analysis. Here we wanted to reach higher education institutions that were present in the countries that are partners within the project. So, as you all know, there are four countries involved: Sweden, Spain, Italy, and Poland. We went through the data to figure out what is the number of higher education institutions there. And we received the feedback that allowed us to identify the number of the institutions, and then we search through their offer to see how many industrial engineering and management programs are there. So again, we got the pool of the data here, and we reviewed these programs to see what kind of courses are offered. For the courses identified, we collected the syllabi as they are usually available at universities' website. They should be available not only in national languages but also in English, and that made it easy to analyze and identify it. Here we implemented some text mining procedure just to see whether the keywords that are mentioned somehow in the structure of syllabi meet the keywords that are connected with Industry 4.0 concept that is present in the literature. The results were presented also in the report. You can see a semantic map here that gives some keywords that most often appear in the syllabi. That's the network that includes words such as innovation, data analysis, data mining, automation, simulation, and many others. Well, just a brief comparison shows that these are simply the words that are quite closely connected with Industry 4.0 concept. So we could say that that the programs that are offered in industrial engineering and management field try to benefit from the state-of-the-art knowledge on the industry that we already have. Naturally, there is always time delay, time to gap that is caused by processes, let's just say, connected with implementation and changes within the program. But here the situation seems to be quite satisfying. So what we had at this stage was the objective analysis of the offer of higher education institutions and the state of knowledge on industry, contemporary industry and business. So the next step was the questionnaires. The questionnaires for the companies were the semi-structured interviews, because there was not so many companies interviewed, but still we wanted to find out whether they need to complete the training, whether they need to supplement the training by higher education institutions with their own courses, trainings, workshops, etc. Because that would obviously mean that the alumni or the students are not well prepared enough to start to initiate the work. So we interviewed companies throughout the Europe, as you can see. Many countries were involved here, just to figure out whether they offer some training sessions and what do these training sessions really refer to. So first conclusion was that the training sessions are organized by most of the companies, especially the large ones, but the frequency differs on account of the size and the type of the company. We tried to see how it is in large companies which are well financed and structures and have the most systemic procedures involved, but also we wanted to see how well it is organized in micro companies, as they are the important part of the contemporary industry. So as you can see, the training is offered, yet in micro companies it's not regular, it's just on the recruitment stage, while in large companies such sessions are offered on a regular basis. We also identified the areas in which the training need is required and offered, and they proved to be the training on decision making, problem solving, entrepreneurial mindset and skills, and also computer based static competences and big data analysis. So we could see that not only the so-called hard skills training is offered, but also the one on decision making and entrepreneurship. The highest, the next step was identification of the gaps between the offer and between the demand. The illustration of the gap is presented in the slide in two dimensions. The first one is the dimension of knowledge, skills, and competencies, while the other is on operational tools. As you can see here, high demand and high gap is recognized again in problem solving, decision making, team working, communication skills, which seems to be soft skills that are really difficult to teach but are really important in everyday's work. And when it comes to operational tools, computer-based competencies, software competencies, and big data analysis seems to be the most important field here. There is no gap perceived and no demand required in industrial marketing, ergonomics, investment and finance, and logistics and industrial organization area when it comes to skills and knowledge and competencies, and when it comes to tool, augmented or VR competencies, and 3D printing competencies. So simply, when then developing the body of knowledge and the program offer, we focused on the gaps that were presented here. Okay, that was the company's perspective, so the most practical one. After that, we went to academia to see how it is perceived from the perspective of the teachers, students, and alumni as well. So we designed questionnaires. It was not semi-structured interviews, but questionnaires for educators. Again, all over Europe, they were asked to express their opinion on educational offer. And the results are presented here. They differ a bit from these gained from the industry. However, there are some similarities here as well. So when it comes to skills, competencies, and learning, communication skills are again the ones that are quite often presented as the needed ones. While the new thing is cybersecurity, which we believe is important, and big data analysis appears here again. When it comes to knowledge transfer methodology, because that was important in university perspective, we wanted to ask the educators what do they lack in their offers, and it showed that the field trips and experiential learning are the knowledge transfer methodologies that are perceived as the ones that are important, yet they are not exploited in a way they should be. Okay, the next group was the alumni group. We also went through the world this time, not only the Europe, as you can see, to figure out whether alumni of higher education institutions perceive the knowledge as valuable. Here, the more gaps were identified, and there's no surprise that they are quite similar. Again, problem solving issues, entrepreneurial mindset, leadership issues, as well as communication skills, cybersecurity issues, Internet of Things, management software tools. So you can see that there is quite a consistency in the gaps identified here. When it comes to knowledge transfer technologies, again, the practical ones were mentioned as really important to get the high level of skills, knowledge, and competencies. So the one that should be stressed in further, let's just say, works on the new, improved and scaled up programs. And the last group to be questioned, the largest group, of course, was students. All over the Europe, we ask students what is their perception of the programs, what is their perception of effectiveness of knowledge transfer by education activities. Most of them perceive that as high. Then we ask them about the content that was provided by master program and its relevance to internship programs. Here also, over 40% assessed that as high, but the responses are not as satisfactory as they could be. The other questions were about effectiveness of knowledge transfer by education activities, compliance of attended master program, and compliance in terms of job market requirements and professional works. There were some gaps identified here as well. As you can see, we could not ask the students directly about their work experience because lots of them do not work yet. Okay, so let's just go to the conclusion, not to use too much of my time. The first part of the conclusion refers to theoretical analysis, okay, so the objective studies. And here we figured that there are no substantial divergences between topic of academic research, namely Industry 4.0, and educational offer of HIEs. They simply focus on that aspect. Importance of manufacturing technologies is stressed. Data processing technologies are perceived as very important as well. Companies also developed their educational offer, but it's customized and based on their needs, and they use the resources that they already have, trying to benefit from coaching and guidance that the experienced staff can offer. The qualitative research also gave the feedback on contents of the courses offered and convergences and divergences with academic research. Generally, they are quite similar, they are quite close, but there are some new topics in the research that are not covered with the programs yet. As I mentioned, it may be caused by administration regulations and the lead time of implementation and introduction of new topics into academic programs. The next set of conclusions refers to the questionnaires results. Simply, we can sum it up really in a really consistent way. Generally, large companies, they look for new competencies, new multidisciplinary competencies, because they want and they need the resilience to rapid changes in the market. Okay, so they need workers who know a lot in various fields that helps them remain successful in a dynamic and competitive market. Companies also appreciate soft skills. They believe that they are important and even more important than the hard skills, skills that are easier to master. Soft skills refer to the ability of communication, interacting with people, team working attitudes, entrepreneurship. So, in the renewed program, we try to focus on these two. There is a net positive knowledge demand from companies. They still need new knowledge because they see how the world changes. Among operational tools, the highest demand expressed by companies is related to analytical competencies. We are living in a world of data, and we need to understand the data and draw conclusions for them. So, tools such as computer-based statistic competencies, management software tools, big data analysis seems to be important here. Face-to-face is the most required knowledge transfer methodology, yet the students preferred asynchronous sessions to the synchronous ones when knowledge is offered in a web-based scheme. When compared companies' knowledge and HIE offers, it's quite similar, but there are some priority areas in which demand of companies is higher than the training offer, and That is the gap we are trying to complete with the project results. The internal demand expressed by higher education institution is in accordance with companies' knowledge demands, which is quite a positive conclusion. Academics involved in second level master program consider of high value both long internship periods and the presence of industry professors in program courses, as they provide practical knowledge and practical insight through the theoretical knowledge and experience. What else? Alumni and students of master programs identified in soft skills the main shortcoming in the programs attended. That is also something we could focus on. And although the offer in second level master programs perceived by students and alumni is lower than the offer expressed by the academics, the majority of students and alumni, they consider contents of the program attended compliant with the job market requirement, which on one hand, is satisfactory on us. On the other, while it proves that there is still a room for improvement, for continuous improvement, to really try to be as close to the market requirements as possible. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Professor.